Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jonah from Spotlight. Hop in the comments, let us know that you're here. Holler out where you're tuning in from, something you're excited to learn today. I am extremely thrilled for today's event. We're going to be talking to Terry Rice all about how you can get your business started and some strategic ways to get your business rolling in only 30 days. Terry, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Oh, I am doing very good. Always a blast. And I did want to call out a couple things before we get started. First off, we have done quite a few events with Terry here at Spotlight. So if after the event you're biting at the bullet, you want to learn more and want to learn more from Terry, check out the Spotlight by Teachable YouTube page. Check out Terry's content. We'll make sure you know where all of that is. But just want to call out, we are doing events like this every week and always trying to tackle these challenges that come with taking your business online, building your own business, whether it's services, courses, digital products. And today we are super excited to have Terry here because we're specifically talking around this problem, which is a lot of people, when they want to take their business online or start their own business, tend to start with the big products. You want to build a huge online course. You want to have a whole bunch of digital products. It's really easy to bite off more than you can chew and put on hold actually starting a functional business. But today, Terry is going to be giving us a lot of systems and insight and tools we can use to start your business, get it rolling, and you can have a functional business while you're building those big products. So you're not just building that stuff in a vacuum. So, Terry, I don't want to take up too much time here and I want to dive in. If you could just quickly introduce yourself for anyone who maybe doesn't know you, so we just get some context about your journey, where you've come from and all of that. Do you want me to throw your slides up for that or?
Yeah, sure thing. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
see
let's
the
yeah.
see all my bullet points here. But yeah, so my name's Terry Rice, and I'm a business development consultant, and that normally involves helping solopreneurs build their brand and their revenue. Based on my experiences and those I've helped before. I'm also a staff writer at Entrepreneur Magazine, which is a lot of fun because I get to interview some really bright people, learn their best practices, and then share with people just like you. Also, the father of four children, so there's always something going on in my home. Right now, one of my kids is homesick, but that's the benefit of entrepreneurship. You're more flexible and can provide for your family, but also care for them when they need you to. But the thing that I really want to point out here is I'm also an instructor at NYU as well as General Assembly. So this content we're covering today is based on an online course that I'm releasing later on this month. But I'm a much better educator than I am a salesperson. So I'm not going to try to sell you a bunch of stuff right now. You will leave knowing how to actually start a business. And then if you want some more help on the back end of that, I'm here to help as well. But that's my goal, is to not give you fluff. It's action items, things you can actually do this weekend to go ahead and start your business.
Love it. And I will call this out throughout it, and I'm happy to sell a little harder than you do, Terry. But Terry's course and additional resources for you are all linked in the description. So make sure to check those out. Don't leave the event, but afterwards there's a wealth of valuable resources for you. And Terry's course is on a pre-sale discount, so it's a great opportunity to grab it. We'll come back to that, but I just want to call it out in case anyone has to leave at any point. And the last thing I just wanted to say is all of this valuable information will be available to you later. There's a replay of the event. It's going to be on YouTube. It's also going to be on the spotlightapp.io website and emailed to you along with those additional resources and an offer for Terry's course if you RSVP to the event. So just wanted to make sure everyone knows you can grab screenshots, you can take whatever info you can, take your notes, but you will have access to this later. So don't freak out if there's anything you want to grab that you just don't have the time at the moment to grab. All of that said, Terry, I'm excited to hand it over to you. I'm going to let you take it away. And at any point, feel free to ask questions, whether you're watching live or the replay. We come back and look at all of those comments. And if we don't answer your question right away, we've got some time at the end for a Q&A. So any questions, comments, feelings, if you're vibing with it, throw it in the comments. That comment section is as much part of the event as the content. We are all here to learn from each other and share. So now I'm actually going to get out of the way. Terry, take it away. Let me know if you need anything. Super excited to learn today.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan. And by the way, if you do take any screenshots and have any key takeaways, please do share them with me on social media at It's Terry Rice. I'd love to see that. But let's get into the agenda. So the whole goal here is to help you start a business using the skills you already have and start making money within less than 30 days. So we're going to teach how to get started, how to get attention, how to get leads, how to get paid, right? Pretty straightforward here. So the very first thing is getting started, developing your business idea, which I know can be the most challenging part, right? There's so many options out there, you have so many passions. And I'd also say that there's also a lot of confusing information out there too. I was looking at the entrepreneur website recently, and I realized that these two popular articles, need a business idea? Here are 55, and then 32 proven ways to make money extra fast online, were ranking very high in the top 10. But the thing is, these two have been there for months. The first one, the one that's number 4, that's been there since May. And I think, someone had good intentions, but it's actually more confusing when someone's saying, okay, how do I start a business? Well, here's 55 ideas. Dude, just give me like one or two or three. And I think we can make this much more simple by doing this. First of all, stop looking for external ideas, right? Everything you need to start a business is already within you based on your experience at one job or another. Maybe it was volunteering, maybe it was a 9 to 5, whatever it is. And the point here is you just need to determine your zone of genius. Because if we start with the skills you already have, you know what we avoid? We avoid imposter syndrome, we avoid a learning curve, and you already have street cred in regards to knowing what you're talking about, right? So, what is your zone of genius? Great question. It comes from the book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And essentially, there is 4 zones of function when it comes to tasks you might perform at work in this case. The first zone is a zone of incompetence. These are things that you're not good at, you're never going to be good at, you don't want to be good at. So let's not make that our service that we're going to offer people. Next one is your zone of competence. These are things that you can do, but everyone else can do just as well. So you would not want to launch a business using this as your service that you're offering. After that, we have your zone of excellence. These are things that you do very, very well. You're recognized as an expert. And maybe this is what you primarily did at a 9 to 5 or are currently doing at a 9 to 5. The problem is it might not excite you as much as it used to. And you feel like there's something else you want to do either instead of or in addition to this. And that's your zone of genius. The activities, the tasks that you actually enjoy doing, they give you energy. And you could read 1,000 books on them and never get bored. That's where you want to spend your time, right? So our goal here is to figure out what our zone of genius is and then turn that into a service that we can offer other organizations or businesses based on your past experience. So how do we do this, right? There's an exercise within the course that I'm going to show you at a very high level right now, how you can determine your zone of genius. Call your attention to column E here. You're going to write down every organization you ever worked with. So every job, it could be a nonprofit, volunteer work, whatever it is, you're going to write down every job that you've had. After that, in column F, start writing down the various tasks and activities you did there, right? So maybe it was fundraising, maybe it was social media marketing, maybe it was filing, whatever it is. You're going to write down all those tasks and then assign them to various zones of competence, just like we talked about: genius, excellence, competence, incompetence. So you're more or less doing an inventory of your career. And if you have a resume handy, I would suggest looking at that as well as maybe old job descriptions to make this part easier. And you'll eventually land on something that looks like this. This is actually loosely based on my life, actually. If you look at the roles, Facebook, Adobe, this is all me. And then things that I'm good at and things that I'm not so good at when I first started entrepreneurship. So your goal here is to look at things that are in your zone of genius and or excellence and say, those are the services that I want to offer, right? So if you look at this, in my zone of genius, it's knowing how to do Facebook ads, explaining complex topics, campaign strategy, and then excellence is budgeting, Google ads, analyzing data, and campaign structure. So this is me when I first left Facebook. Now, just knowing this alone is going to make you much more confident in regards to how you present yourself as a solopreneur, because you can then say, I help companies design and optimize their Facebook ads. We're pulling this right from your zone of genius and excellence here. And I explain it in a way you can actually understand, right? Under genius, I have explaining complex topics. That's it. That's what you need to determine your service offering, right? There's no training, there's no like upfront cost, nothing, just this. And then you just want to add a target audience. Who do you do this for? In this case, I said e-commerce companies. I help e-commerce companies design and optimize their Facebook ads, and I explain it in a way that you can actually understand. Well, Any questions on this part? Because this is the part people get stuck on, believe it or not. Because like I want to do something, I just don't know what it is. People say find your passion, find your passion. I don't know about that. Maybe find your purpose. And your purpose is to generate revenue. And with that revenue, you can go explore your passions. So you don't have to be passionate about what you do. In fact, I would caution you not to, because let's pretend you're passionate about Pokemon cards. And like, oh man, I love Pokemon cards. I'm going to start selling them. Well, all of a sudden, there's all this extra stuff that goes into it, like drop shipping costs, people complaining they're not getting cards, XYZ, and now your business is failing and you hate Pokemon cards. So what I'm saying is you don't have to have a passion for your business. You shouldn't hate it. You should be good at it, but you can use it as the purpose being for you to go ahead and pursue your passions on the side, right? So let's get that established. Next question you might be asking is, okay, cool. Well, how do I actually make money? Great. I know what I'm good at and I know who I can offer it to. What next? How do I, on a very strategic level, generate revenue based on what you're saying? Great question. I've put together this action business ideation model. First of all, cool acronym. Second of all, it goes through exactly how you can make money by offering the skills you already have, right? And there's no upfront cost. There's no need for a website. None of that stuff. I'll get to you later. The first thing is offering audits. So let's pretend you're really good at digital marketing, right? Or let's say email marketing would be even more specific. Your old job, you did all sorts of marketing. You did trade show, you did mailing stuff, you did digital marketing. But you're like, you know what? I really loved email marketing. That's my zone of genius. That's what I want to do for e-commerce companies, right? You can say, all right, well, the very first thing I'm going to do is start offering audits. I know how to create really good email marketing programs based on what I've done in the past. I'm going to audit other companies' implementations of their email marketing. I'll find ways to improve their open rate, their click rate, all that stuff that you're an expert on. You're going to give your outside opinion to these other companies on what to do. And I love doing audits because the benefit is you just analyze situations, find areas for improvement, and then you leave. You don't actually have to do anything, right? So it's pretty cool, a cool way to make money just by pointing out flaws and pointing to ways people can improve what's going on. And these are things you already did at your job anyways. You're just offering it as a service now. The next step here is consulting. That's when you're sitting down and saying, okay, let me give you some tips on how to improve your email marketing. It looks like some companies are doing this, you're not doing that. Another thing to think about is, how are you separating your list between someone who's bought something, someone who's not bought something, XYZ. But more or less, you're just saying, let me be the expert opinion here on how to optimize whatever process you're doing. Okay. After that, we can go deeper to training and saying, you know what, the problem is you're actually not good at writing emails. It's not the fact that, you're not doing A/B testing or this and that. Like you just need training on maybe buyer psychology and how to do a better job at writing emails. I will train you and or your team on how to do that. Right. So now we have three services from the same scale that we talked about earlier. After that, implementation. So helping companies implement new technologies, processes, whatever it may be, that's again within your zone of genius. So in this case, maybe they're onboarding a new email marketing program and you're saying, okay, let me help you implement this within your organization. Right. Next step is that from here is ongoing retainers. I love ongoing retainers because you get paid for pretty much existing and being available if anyone has any questions. So you're going to say, look, for $2,000 a month, you can reach out to me whenever you want and ask questions about your email marketing, like a subject line, new things you should be trying, so on and so forth. And the benefit of you being on a retainer is you already have intimate knowledge of this company's what's going on with them, but you're not necessarily doing day-to-day work. And that's a goal, is to build up these ongoing retainers. Lastly, new opportunities. This one by design is kind of vague. What are some other things you can do, again, within your zone of genius to generate revenue? Maybe you're going to help them just go from doing email marketing to maybe some SMS stuff too, or other ways of leveraging their email marketing to reach new people, or even saying, look, let me be a key person of influence for your company, and I'll talk on stages about how great your content is, XYZ. So again, by design, new opportunities is pretty much open in the air. But I will tell you what I did at General Assembly, where I teach, is for years I was doing training. And recently I said, you know what? I'd also like to do a podcast on behalf of General Assembly too. What do you say? They said yes. That's a new opportunity that I came up with based on this model, right? So I'm going to pause here because I know I'm going quick. Are we getting thumbs up, thumbs down? Are we getting like people falling asleep? How's this going so far based on any comments you're seeing?
We got you. We're following you. And I especially, yeah, the way you frame the audits thing is so valuable because I remember discovering that with my own business kind of by accident. Like, I didn't have the intention to do that. I was doing some consulting and was like, "Oh my god, I used to do this for no additional cost in my other jobs. This is a service." So, yeah, I really can't accentuate how quickly that got my business going once I realized it was valuable. I wish I had seen your presentation when I started. But, yeah, people are following, we're vibing along. Love it.
Cool. Yeah, one great thing about the audits, and I'm glad you flagged this, is because you can offer these on a quarterly basis. You're gonna say, okay, look, I'm gonna come in and audit whatever it is, whatever your zone of genius is, based on your background, and say, look, I'll come in and do this audit now, but I'll come back every quarter and help you with the same stuff. That way, one yes from a client locks in three more engagements. And you can say, normally my audits are $5,000. But if you book four of them right now, I'll give you the whole year at $16,000. You'll see me every quarter. We'll plan your next 3 months, XYZ, and you're good to go. So again, that's the benefit. If you just start with the audit process, you know how to do everything else because you know what to look for, and you can go forward from there.
That's a can I pop in a quick question here,
Yeah.
Terry? And I know this is a little bit opening a can of worms, or maybe you're gonna get to this. Um, but I know for beginning entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, asking for that much money is terrifying.
Mhm.
Do you have any tips, or maybe we can address this later on setting prices for yourself early on and setting reasonable prices? Be getting comfortable with the idea of asking for 16, $20,000 when you've been getting paid $15 an hour or the like. Like, how do you go about that?
First of all, don't do what I did, which is undersell yourself. Because when I first started out, I was getting yeses from everybody because I was so cheap. I was charging like $40 an
Right,
hour for stuff, and
right.
I was like, "Well, I'm crushing it." So yeah, I mean, there's a module where I go through this in depth, but more or less, you want to look at what the average person is charging for your services. So you want to do some research on that, and then don't aim for average. Like, think to yourself, what could I do to make this even more valuable by,
Mm,
let's say, another 20%? And when you're sending this proposal, which we cover in the course as well, I always say, look, just charge what you're afraid of and then add 20%. Because what's going to happen is, especially the way that you're attracting people, because we don't do outbound marketing in my program, it's all inbound. The way that you're attracting people, they're coming to you and saying, hey, can you help me? And if you say
ah,
it's $5,000, they might say, cool. And they might say, gosh, I wasn't thinking of spending that much money. You can meet them where they're at so long as you're comfortable. But what I would say is, do your best not to lower your price too much, especially when you're first getting started, because then it's a race to the bottom. But you do want to get a few people that you're coming in at a discount and or for free. I'll be straight up here, because the best way to avoid imposter syndrome is not to be an imposter. So I say,
mm,
look, just bring in like three people that maybe you know from one way or another, and work for them for free in exchange for their feedback, their testimonials, and any referrals. And
mm.
that way you can go forward confidently and say, hey, how much would you have paid for this? 5,000 bucks? Cool. Now let me go find the next person who will pay that amount.
Nice. Okay, so there is it's wise to take a period to either for free or cheap offer those services under the pretense that these are your first customers. They're giving you ammunition to go and get bigger customers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Cool,
exactly. And
cool.
that's the thing. If you're just radically honest, you can mess up and it's okay
Right,
because you're like,
right,
hey,
right.
I said I was new to this stuff.
Right, right.
Um,
Love it. Okay, I appreciate you answering that question, but yeah, don't wanna hold you up
yeah.
anymore.
No, you're good. But let's go more into pricing. Again, in the actual course, we go much deeper into how much you should charge based on what you're doing, your experience, the competition, and your revenue, desired revenue you want to get. But you want to eventually have some kind of funnel like this, where on the far left, we're thinking, how are people made aware of you, right? It can be social media. I did a lot of free speaking engagements when I first started out. It could be podcasts. There's a really great program. It's called podmatch.com. You can go on there and people can actually nominate you or ask you to speak on their podcast. You can do interviews, you can do guides, ebooks, free webinars like this one. You can do a free mini course on Teachable. But the goal here is to get people made aware of you. So at one point or another, you can either reach out to them, could be through your newsletter, or they reach out to you saying, "Hey, how can you help me with this stuff?" So even recently, I was contacted to speak at this conference for Berkshire Hathaway, like Warren Buffett's company. And I was like, "How did you hear about me?" They're like, "Oh, I heard you on some podcast, and I was going to hire the host, but actually I heard you, and I thought you might be a better fit." So that's how they discovered me for this Warren Buffett conference, was doing a podcast, right? So you have to figure out how you want people to be made aware of you, and we go through different approaches based on if you're an introvert, extrovert, you like being on camera, XYZ. But it starts there. And then you want to have some kind of lower price offering. That's called a tripwire often in marketing. It could be an online course, it could be an ebook, it could be a workshop, whatever it is, but something that gets people off your email list or out of the consideration phase and into the conversion phase. So on my end, my online course that I keep on talking about, that's priced at $50. I almost want it to be an impulse buy for right now, and the price is definitely going to go up. But I just want to get this in the hands of people so they're like, wow, I'd be a fool not to get this based on the information available, and then tell other people about it as well. That's one of my goals, is to grow a lot through referrals with this course because of the outcomes I'm delivering.
Terry,
The
we
next
had
step.
sorry, one quick question there, just so we don't miss it. Tasha was asking what was the podcast website you just mentioned.
Oh yeah, it's podmatch.com. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
podmatch.com.
And then what other
Yeah.
thing? Pamela is just saying that they absolutely love your logo.
Oh, cool. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, once you start giving, people give you stuff. Like, someone made that logo for me for free in exchange for the content I've been providing. So
Ah,
yeah, the more you give, the more you receive. Because if you are the gift, you receive the gift. And I think this is really important to bring up. Often people say, "I don't want to give away all my information, all my secrets, and everything." Your problem is not someone just taking your information and not hiring you. Your problem is often people don't know who you are or they don't trust you. So on my end, that's why I give away information for free often, but the implementation, which I provide the course, that you got to pay for, right? but
right,
but at least because you get all these templates, all these scripts, all these guides and everything. That, yeah, I mean, I need some money because I have 4 kids, but I want you to trust me before you even get to the point where you're about to hit that that buy button, to the point where you're like, yeah, this guy's legit. He's not making this stuff up as he goes along.
right. Love it, love it.
So then in the middle, we have your core product, more or less, and this is what you're known for. So it could be coaching, consulting, it could be editing, whatever you want to do as a professional service provider. That's your core product, and just for price ranges between $1,000 and $20,000. But what you cannot complete my course without coming up with is this: your profit multiplier. This is a non-negotiable. You have to create a profit multiplier to complete my course, because that's how you make a lot more money using the same skills that you have, again, in this zone of genius. So pretend it is someone being really good at email marketing. Your profit multiplier could be training like a large organization of people how to do email marketing, right? Or some kind of enterprise level engagement where it's like you're doing it for like Sony or whatever, government contracts, long-term partnerships, whatever it is, because the value of your knowledge is contextual, right? A company that's making millions of dollars a year can easily pay you $75,000 to help them do better at email, because just one more click per email can make them a lot of money, right? So what I'm asking you to do is not have these self-limiting beliefs impact your revenue, right? And you have to have that profit multiplier put into place. And I teach you exactly how to do that, because when it lands, it lands. And you talk about being afraid to hit send on an email. Gosh, when I send out emails asking for like $70,000 or $80,000, I still feel kind of, there's something going on. But the worst that can happen is they'll say no, or they'll ask for a lower price. So that's it. Next step is getting attention, right? How do you build your personal brand and how do you create content? But I got to tell you, look, before you do anything to get a stranger to buy from you, ask your network first. This is the most common way to get clients, is through your network, right? So don't ask some stranger to trust you. Ask your cousin or something to ask their network if they need anybody who needs if they have anyone who needs your help. And it's this simple. You can say, "Hey, Omar, I'm starting a new business, and I was wondering if you could help spread the word." Now here's where you having that clarity comes in handy. In short, I help e-commerce companies design and optimize their Facebook ads, and I explain it in a way they can actually understand. Do you know anyone who can use this help? This is how you get started. It's not doing cool stuff on LinkedIn. It's not doing a bunch of webinars. It's not doing interviews. It's not creating a lead magnet. It's just asking your network. Because from here, it just moves a heck of a lot faster. You want to make money in 30 days? This is what you do, right? We can talk about the other fancy stuff later. We get more into it in the course, but right now, this is all you do. It's just this three like line email, or it could be a DM, and you're good to go. So what do? Make a list of people that can spread the word for you. Friends, family, coworkers would be great. Again, especially because they know your work and that's the work you're selling. Oh yeah, Kelly was really good at email marketing. Gosh, she'd be a good fit. Community members. So I do CrossFit, and everyone there is a really tight community. People there actually hire me sometimes to help them. So tap into this resource first before you get fancy with anything else. And if you do want to do social media, which I think is a great idea, let's keep it real basic. You want to get complicated? Cool. Talk about it later. Right now, let's go basic. And the first thing I always say is this: questions create content. So if you can't think of anything to write for your audience for whatever reason, just do this. Think of 10 questions your audience has and then answer them. That's it. So for an email marketer, it could be like, what's the best time to send emails? What's the difference between a hard and a soft bounce? Uh, how do I increase my open rate? Whatever it is, you can just create content saying, curious how to open your open rate in emails? Here's the answer. That's it. So again, if you can't think of anything to write, this is the easiest way to provide value to your audience by answering common questions. There you go. But the thing is, you build your personal brand by having a personality. And here's a post I put up last week in regards to my daughter, Bree, being homesick. I said, hey, this is my daughter. She's cute, right? Here's the problem. She had to stay home sick 2 days this week. As a result, my wife and I had to reshuffle our schedules. And as an entrepreneur, fortunately, you can lean into that and find more efficient ways to work and generate revenue while you care for your family. As a 9 to 5 employee, gosh, you're kind of stuck because you have to kind of rearrange your whole schedule and explain why you're not available. If you want help starting your own business, click here to learn more. That's it, right? So you're going to share your worldview, your perspective, your day-to-day life, but that's how you get rewarded for who you are, not just what you do. And if you pay attention, there's stories unfolding around you all the time. Like literally right now, this same daughter, Bree, she's in the other room next to me, homesick again, right? So and she'll be fine. So I'm sure some of you might be concerned, but it's like, this is my life. But that's what I teach you. I teach you how to have the efficiency of a 44-year-old guy with 4 kids who never knows when they're going to be home and can still generate revenue because of this flywheel, more or less, that you're developing for your business. So it works out pretty good. Another thing is you want to be bold or contrarian if you feel comfortable. So I had this one post that went out a week ago saying, most LinkedIn gurus will tell you not to put a link to your website in your post because they say you get less reach. And I'm saying, well, here's why you should ignore them. If you look at my data that I'm sharing with you, when I started putting links in my post, my email subscribers skyrocketed. It went pretty well, right? And you see my actual data here as well as some data. So one thing you could do is dispel common myths or challenge common beliefs in a way to stand out. So contrarian content backed with evidence can build your increased trust. Last thing I'd be remiss to not bring up is just also comment. Comment to build community. And by the way, you can do this on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you want. I'm just partial to LinkedIn. But when you comment, what I want you to do is make a list of thought leaders that your audience follows. And again, if it's email marketing, it might be some email marketing expert. And then from there, just comment on their post as well as the people that are following them as well. If you do this, you'll start building relationships in the comment section as opposed to sending someone a connection request saying, can we connect? No, the relationships are built in the comment section, not by hitting a button, right? So if you look at this post, like Simon Sinek said something smart, and I had one comment that got 52 likes and 13 replies. So when you're just first starting out, it might be hard for you to get 52 likes on your own content. But if you comment on someone like Simon Sinek, you could. It just has to be a thoughtful comment. Don't just say like facts or something like that, right? How are we doing, Jonah? Because we're going into lead generation now.
We're doing great. People are there's a few real vibes here. I love Pamela was saying brilliant. Ask the peeps who see and know you. And then was also saying great mantra, questions create content. And I love that too. I know that was a major click moment for me when I started getting comments and questions on my content. I was like, "Oh my god, I don't have to sit here wondering what to make anymore."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No,
Because at
it's a
first you're
great breakthrough.
what do people wanna know? But it takes a minute to get there if you're starting from scratch, but really and then talking to creators, you just see how much it can become a, like, Now it's your duty to help people, and they're telling you what they need, right? And I love that relationship too. But yeah, people are vibing. We are loving this.
Cool. One thing I want to say is this, because this happens way too often with new creators, is you don't no one can tell you what belongs on one platform or another. You don't
Mm,
have to sound like everyone else, right? You can't let some random person in Iowa tell you this doesn't belong on LinkedIn or this does not belong on Instagram, because your personality, your experience, your worldview is what's going to make you stand out, but no one has a right to silence you. So if you feel a little weird about hitting post or publish, what are people going to think? Don't worry about it, because there's like 800 million people on the platform. Maybe you only need to reach 800 of them, and those are the
right.
ones who are going to know, like, and trust you. So who cares if other people are ignoring your content or saying like this doesn't belong on LinkedIn or whatever it is? Just live your life, because if you let that person like just restrain your ability to express your opinions, your thoughts, your perspective, they're also holding back on your income, and no one's going to win. So I
Right.
just want to encourage you to hit publish, and if it's your first time posting, just message me and say, "Hey Terry, just put this up. Can you holler at it?" That way, at least someone comments. I'm happy to do that for you.
Well, Terry, this comment just came in and it's so relative to what you're saying, but I'm curious your perspective a little deeper. Fulvia is saying the people that know me do not take me seriously.
Got it.
How and I relate to that so much. I know for myself that that's been a challenge, but what is your take on that when you feel that way or know that about how the people around you treat you and how do you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, it's funny. That was my post today on LinkedIn, like legit.
Huh,
That was my post, and let me find it so I can like say it verbatim. The response that I offered. I said, "Be careful what you tolerate, because you're teaching people how to treat you." So what I would say in this case is you got to check people first of all, like if they're making fun of you and like just kind of clowning you, or it's like not taking you serious, like you have to assert like no, like this is who I am and this is what I can do, and you don't have a right to try to down me for that, and it's just not acceptable, right? Because if you let them creep in your head again, like you're losing, and they're probably just maybe doing it to be funny, or maybe they just are not people. I don't know your circle, but you can't let that hold you back, because there are people who need your voice, your opinion, your perspective, and your next post could be the answer to a question that's really troubling them, right? So you can't let these people get in your head. And if you really want tips on how to front load confidence, because we talk about that in the course too, here's what you do, right? You're going to write down 10 difficult things that you've accomplished in your life.
hmm,
Maybe it was graduating high school, maybe it was making a sports team, maybe it was getting a job, whatever it is. But you want to document these epic thoughts. And in those moments where you feel less than, or you feel like you're not ready, or like an imposter, you're going to review this list and you'll know to yourself, look, I can do difficult things. I've done them in the past and I'm ready for it now, because confidence has to come from within, not pep talks or anything like that. It has to come from within, and it comes from past experiences. So that's what I would ask you to do as your homework, is to write down 10 challenging things you've accomplished in the past, just to reinforce the fact that you should be taken seriously based on what you've already done.
mm, love that. Mm, thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.
I'll let you
Yeah, you
keep
got it.
going.
And let's stop for a minute though, because when I built this course, I actually surveyed 300 people that were either aspiring or new entrepreneurs, and said, "What do you want in this?" And confidence came up a lot. So that's why I'm glad we're harping on this. Yes, I am going to give you the confidence to go out there and boldly, charge what you should, and get clients. And people might think that's like fluff. They're like, "Oh, just give me the nuts and bolts." The nuts and bolts aren't going to work if you don't have the confidence to go ahead and execute them, right? So I always say it's actions, tools, and mindset. That's what you're getting in the course. That's what you get from me, is the actions, tools, and mindset to put it all together. Otherwise, nothing works. It won't land. It won't hit, because you're going to have your cousins in your head saying, "Why do you think you can do this? You're not going to be good at it. You're going to fail." I want to push those thoughts out and just really, again, instill that confidence based on real things, not just me being a motivational speaker, just like based on things you've actually done. So it's tangible and it's real and you can actually use it. So thanks for that interjection. All right, let me get off my soapbox and talk about generating leads. How do we actually do that? Again, first of all, don't use paid ads or complex tools. I was that guy before. I wasted so much money on fancy stuff that I thought would help, but really I just needed more clarity on what the heck to do. And that's what I'm giving you in this course. So again, at this stage, you want to keep things as simple as possible. And remember, your network will most likely be your best source of leads. So sure, create some cool content on social media. I dig it, but your network is still going to be the best source of leads. in this case, especially early on. But how can you generate leads in this case? I'm saying from social media for written content. I'm not going to talk about you DMing people. I'm not going to talk about you doing any cold emailing. If you want to, we can get into that. But right now, look, we're just trying to get paid in a way that just feels natural, feels comfortable, and that we don't feel like an imposter. So one thing you can do is just say something irrelevant on social media. In this case, I'm saying steal this idea. I created this experiment where I want to have more video content, and all I did was read some of my old posts out loud on camera, and it worked. So I'm saying, hey, do you need any help with this stuff? DM me. That's all you're going to do is say, here's something very valuable. Great tip for you. Do you want help? DM me. And then people will direct message you saying, hey, you mentioned this thing. How can I get some help with this? It's that simple. Just a call to action at the end, right? If you get used to saying that, have any questions? Let me know. Have any questions? Drop them in the comments. If you drop these questions in the comments, if they do that, you can answer them thoroughly. And then you can later say, hey, Jonah, would you like to talk about this one on one? We can book a Zoom, or if you want, you can go ahead and just message me. But now you have permission based pitching because they're asking you for more information. And you're saying, by the way, if you want to talk about this, DM me or let's hop on a Zoom. So this is the easiest way to do it. But again, if you're concerned about hitting publish because your cousin said you're not good at this stuff, this ain't going to happen. That's the problem. If you want, and if you feel up for it, you can also start a newsletter. And the way that I structure my newsletter is like this. Every week that you get one thought, one tactic, and one time saver to make money, save time, and avoid burnout. So it takes me very little time to write because I'm just thinking, what's one thought? The thought I had before is, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? And I was like, what would you do? A tactic I had before was how to get anyone to engage with you on LinkedIn. That was a tactic. And a time saver was finding out who your negative customer persona is. Who do you not want to work with? That goes in the newsletter. It takes me about an hour to write. And you don't need a big following because I'm going to show you how to grow your email list with your content as well. This is a fun way to crank out a lot of content should you want to. And as a result from that, get some leads. You say, hey, Terry, does it actually work? Yeah, it does. This is my newsletter from last week. This woman said, hey, this is great. I'm going to try this stuff and let you know how it goes. How do I schedule time to talk with you? We talked yesterday, right? So the email went out on Friday, and we did what's called a power hour yesterday, and that costs $700, right? So this email, just this response made me $700, right? You can do the same thing because I'm going to show you how to build your email list. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail now, but you'll get the point. In this case, I was talking about a story. This is actually a funny story. Not funny. It is what it is. My first job that I had in New York City, I just hated it for various reasons. And I told my manager I was quitting. He's like, "Well, how long can you stay?" And I'm like, "I don't know, 2, maybe 3 o'clock." And then I peaced out, um, which is not cool. But I made the point saying like, "Hey, you should not do what I did because when you're starting your own business, your current employer could very well be your first customer, your first client. Do you want to help figuring that out? I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that in next week's newsletter. You can sign up here." So you see what I did? I used storytelling that naturally led to someone signing up for my email list. Naturally leads to someone joining or DMing me for more help, whatever it is. So turn these stories into lead gen opportunities, but do so in a creative way that still reflects your personality. And we talk about that in the course too. But I think you're getting the point now. So hopefully that lands. There's another one that I did today, actually. I just told you, saying, be careful what you tolerate. You're teaching people how to treat you. And I said, about 40% of people are considering quitting their jobs in the next 3 to 6 months. If that's you, sign up for my newsletter and I'll teach you how to do it without messing up, pretty much. And this was today that I posted this. And here's a message I got on Instagram. Hey, Terry, saw your post today about job tolerance. I actually just left for the same reason, and I have 3 to 6 months to start off my venture. Can we talk? Right? There you go. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because there's a lot of, I'm using air quotes, gurus who teach theory. This sounds like it might work. I read a blog about this. I'm showing you stuff that works for me. Stuff that worked for me back when I had no clients whatsoever, not even a website, no brand necessarily, and stuff that works now as well, so that you can grow with it, right? So everything I'm doing, I've actually done before. I've taught other people how to do it, and it works. So I'm keeping it simple because if you have too much information, it's confusing. And I always say clarity is the precursor to confidence. So if you want to confidently go ahead and do this stuff, get super clear, but master the fundamentals first, then we can get fancy with it. Jonah, how we doing?
We're doing great. Pamela had a wonderful question here. So she was saying, just read about Gumroad as a vehicle for newsletters. What are your thoughts on
Gumroad exists. That's what I know. I've never used it. I mean, I know other creators that swear by it. I can say that people that I trust to make the right decision. So if that helps you, I would say it's something that I would definitely look into because people that I trust that I know are making money. I should say
that?
this that I can quantify that are making money. They use Gumroad, and from what I understand, it's very easy to use, and also I believe free at certain tiers. So
Yeah.
there's my thoughts on Gumroad.
Well, and my only insight is I know you don't need Gumroad's a little more for like digital product delivery to my knowledge, so you don't need Gumroad to deliver a newsletter. You can just use an email service and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. And another question coming in from Amy, do you have them go to a shop? How do they pay you for that power hour?
Okay, good question. So for the power hours specifically, they pay me through Acuity. So
Mm.
through Acuity, you would book, well, first of all, I'll show you something in a moment, but you would book your time and pay for that time in the same flow. So that way I'm not
Oh,
doing
nice.
any invoicing, it's just done. And that's how. So I mean, heck, I think anyone who was a knowledge-based expert like all of you should either use Acuity or Calendly to do the same thing. Charge whatever you want for an hour. Maybe it's 50 bucks, maybe it's 700 bucks. But next time someone tries to pick your brain, say, hey, Jonah, great question. This would be a great fit for a power hour. Here's a link for you to schedule and pay for it right now.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Like that alone, if you just do that, you'll make money. If you're
Yeah.
cranking out content that provides answers, you'll make money just doing that alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to make it as easy as buying something on Amazon, right? So it's just
Yeah.
simple for people. Love it.
Yeah,
Well, those
absolutely.
were all the questions for the moment.
Cool. All right. So how do we actually get paid? So we'll talk about sales calls and proposals. So like I was saying, I like to prepare by having as much information about my audience as possible. So this is for like a VIP day. If someone wanted to book that, like this is the initial form they would submit. I'd say like, what do you do? Who do you do it for? What is one problem you need help with? And what's your desired outcome from this VIP day? So I look at this to kind of pre-qualify people because if you're just super unclear on what you do and who you do it for, I'm even more confused. So I might be in trouble unless you want to do that zone of genius exercise. What's one problem you need help with, and then what's your desired outcome? That lets me know if I can actually help the person, or if I'm like, you know what, I'm not a good fit for one reason or another. So you want to have this form ready and just host it on your website. That way you can prepare better. Maybe tell some people, hey, I'm not your guy. But when you're actually on these sales calls, here's 5 basic questions to ask. And again, I'm a better educator than I am a salesperson. So here's my mistake I make all the time. I start answering questions in this consulting and training for free on sales calls. So I have to really restrain myself because my goal is to help, right? I should probably have someone else do my sales calls at this point. But my goal is to help people. So when you express a problem, I'm not just going to take notes and saying, cool. Like I always want to jump in and help. I don't want you to do that because it'll decrease your revenue. Like I remember recently I talked to some woman and she's like, you know what, I think I'm actually clear now. Thanks. I didn't make any money. So don't be me. But this is what works for me, this framework when I actually stick to it. First question is just saying, okay, well, what's going on? Let them lay out the situation. Oh, I'm struggling with this. This is going on. Oh gosh, it's so tough. And then if you can, infer the impact it's having on the company. Oh, is this causing this to happen as well? Because that way you show that you're thinking from their perspective and not just going through a list of questions, even though you are. Next question. What have you already tried to fix this? You want to get an idea of how much time, money, effort has been invested because first of all, you can not repeat the same mistakes if they didn't work the first time. But second of all, you get an idea of how major this is and how much focus is going into it as well. Next one. All right, well, do you want me to help? You're asking for permission to pitch because too often people just start pitching instead of building up this need and saying, okay, you got all these problems. Do you want help? I'm not going to say no after they said how the building's on fire. They're going to say, yeah, sure. So you explain what you can do, how you help them, whatever process you have, and that's why the audit is so important. You're going to say, I have this 5-step process where I do X, Y, Z. I guess there's more letters needed than that. Either way, and that's how I help people, right? And then once you get through that part, you're going to say, well, how soon do you want to resolve this problem, right? The reason why this is important is because if you get ghosted, you can say, hey, Jonah, when we talked, you said you want to sell this by October. And right now it's mid-September. If we don't get started by now, we're not going to be able to work together, unfortunately, because my team can't work that quick, or I can't work that quick in this case. This is how you prevent yourself from getting ghosted. You say, when do you actually want to start? That way you have an excuse to reach out and say, we have to start now. Last question is, what would stop you from saying yes right now? Simple as that. What would stop you from saying yes right now? And then address those rebuttals if there are any. If not, cool, you're good to go. And then what I do is in the course, I give you templates for proposals as well as teams as tools you can use to just immediately send it out. My favorite tool is Honeybook. But that way, the same day you have this proposal sent out, and you can actually see when they open it, when they pay it, and any reminders that might have to go into that as well. That's it. All right, so you've done all this cool stuff. Then what? What do you do? Well, just deliver on your promises. Because I want you to grow through testimonials and referrals, not marketing and sales, right? So just be clear and honest in your communication. For me, often I'm saying, gosh, my kid's sick. I'm going to be late on this. Also, aim to be the best provider they've ever worked with, right? That's the level of excellence I always aim for, but also set boundaries, right? You're not going to risk your mental health, your physical health, anything on that stuff because that is not a good idea. And then ask for feedback. Hey, what could have gone better? What'd you think about this? Here's my favorite question. What could I have done for you to pay twice as much for my service and still be happy? If you ask that question after every delivery, you will make more money because you're getting more ideas on how to innovate, right? That's what you do. What else? All right. Well, if you want help with this stuff, here's the hard pivot. But actually, Jonah, let me pause here before I do my pivot and see if there's any questions I can grab.
Uh oh. Uh well, we have a couple here. Yes, they're just rolling. Sorry, there's a little delay, folks. So catching up with you.
Actually, Jonah, let me do this. Let me do my pivot, and then we're kind of getting close to wrapping it up right now. So please do ask me questions. I'll grab those momentarily. But first, I'm going to try to sell you something. So stay tuned. So
Love it.
if you want help, so if you want help with this, I'm encouraging you to join the Solopreneurs Fast Track. I will show you how to start a business again with the skills you already have and start making money in less than 30 days. There's no website, there's no paid ads, none of that stuff. It's just you going out there and getting clear on what you can do, the audience you want to present it to, and then activating your network as well as your social channels if you want to get paid. Right? It's super simple. I've done it dozens of times with other people, even just this year. So what are you actually getting it? And by dozens, I mean hundreds. So what do you actually get? The first one is actually going through your service offering and pricing. So not just your target audience and your zone of genius, but how much are you charging for this stuff? And I give you templates for your service offering to make it a lot easier. You can change that if you want to any way you want, but at least you're not staring at a blank screen. Beyond that, personal branding. How do you tell your story about how you went from corporate to a solopreneur, or whatever makes sense? Optimizing your social media profiles, your content pillars. What are the themes you talk about all the time, as well as planning content so you can consistently crank it out. After that, getting leads. So we talked about inbound lead generation, but also my favorite thing to do is speaking events like this one. So how do you land speaking events? By having a really good topic that organizations like Teachable would say yes to. We go through that in the course as well. And then getting paid. So how do you get ready for these calls? How do you send out proposals? And yes, you do get templates of your proposals as well to make sure that you're not hesitating to hit send on that email. You get a bunch of other stuff too. You get a one-page business plan. That way you can apply what you're learning as you're going along, and you have a clear roadmap of next steps. Content templates. I said those service offering templates, worksheets for pricing and projections, as well as other tools and resources. But really, what you're going to do here is just avoid a lot of the mistakes I made initially when I started out, and other people make as well. Save years of guessing and frustration, which means you're going to make more money, and also get that mindset, that confidence to go out there and charge what you're worth. And then beyond that, you're going to attract people who actually value your input and are going to pay you what you're worth. So I largely focus on inbound marketing. I don't like doing sales, as I said, because I'm not good at it. So I have to have people come to me ready to pay. Otherwise, I would not be working out too well, right? So that's what I'm inviting you to do is to join me in this fast track. And Jonah, right now, I'm going to turn it over to you so I can answer some more questions. But thank you for this, and it's already been amazing. But I love the Q&A part because that's the part where I never know what's going to happen and can provide value to people in a more bespoke way. So let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. And so, folks, we got at least 10 more minutes here. So, any questions you have left over, drop them in the comments. There's a little delay, like 10 seconds there. So, we'll get to all the questions. Just make sure to drop them in as soon as you have them. And just want to take a second once again to call out that the link for Terry's course is in the description. And if you want to sign up, a member said this earlier, or someone was saying, can you use the coachable hour via Teachable? So could you use Teachable's coaching products to sell those hours? And you absolutely could. You can sign up and test that for free as well in the description. So just wanted to call those two things out. Let's hop into it. Pamela has a great question. When do you address payment? So on those calls when you're talking to someone, and is it after saying what would stop you? Or when do you get to the point of what you're going to be, what you charge?
Yeah, after you say like, "Would you like my help?" That's when you explain how you can help people. And you're going to say like, you'll get a response, right? Does
Right.
it sound good? They're going to ask you about the price. You're going to say, "Well, it starts at." You always say starts at. Don't say it is, because you never know how the scope might change. You're going to say, "Well, it starts around X, Y, Z." But if I ask a few more questions, I can give you a better number. But I always say the price on the phone. Like on my end, like I don't want to wait to see what happens when they hear about the price, right? I say it on the phone. It's $5,000. It's $6,000. It is what it is. That way, any rebuttals or sorry, any rejections you get, you can talk about it on the phone, right?
Mhm.
Instead of like going back and forth on email and you're praying they actually respond or open it. But after you present what you're doing, you can say the price then. Or when you say what would stop you from saying yes today, that's when they might say the price as well. Or they might say, well, how much do you charge? Then you go into it as well.
Gotcha. Okay, and question about the well, sorry, I want to interject a question there because you said something interesting there. When it And I always struggle with this with my own business too, when to address price, because people usually want price up front, but you really don't know what a client's like to work with and what it's going to cost. So do you have any methods, not to intentionally like draw out the process, but to make sure that you really do have a clear scope and you're not promising to do anything where the client comes back with edit after edit after edit or all of those kind of things? How do you manage those expectations clearly?
I would say this. I mean, if someone asks about the price before they hear about your services, that's a bit of a red flag because it's like you don't even know what I can do. Like I can say $1 billion, it might be worth it, if you're the
Right,
right person.
right.
But what I would say is I'm just honest, right? I'm like, hey, normally it starts around 3,000. It can go up from there based on what you're looking for. But let's talk about it and see, how that feels. But like, if they were planning on paying $750 and you say it starts at $3,000, you should get off the phone because it's like, we're wasting everyone's time at this point. And I think the more honest you are, the more straightforward you are, the more genuine you are, the more yeses you'll get because you're more trustworthy. But I don't like dancing around that question. Like, oh, we'll get to that. I'm like, well, I can't even focus now
Mm,
because I'm waiting to get to that, right?
right.
So that's the perspective I have, is just be open and honest because I don't care about all this other stuff. Perhaps in this case, if I
Yeah,
know I can't afford it.
right. I appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, that's great insight. And so
But when they say, please do this. When they say you're the price, don't say it's $3,000, but it's negotiable. Just say it starts at $3,000. Like, don't start discounting in your pitch, which
right.
is what I hear way too often. And say it to them like they asked you what time it is. What's your rate? $3,000. Don't say it's three
Right,
thousand
right,
bucks.
right. Well, and it's how do I want to say this? It's also like I know there's this fear so often when you're just getting used to pricing yourself at that level, there's this fear that someone's just gonna like take their laptop and burn it in a river when you say a price they don't like. But like they're likely, if they want you and using the kind of inbound marketing you're doing, they want you, right? And so they'll ask to negotiate. They'll be there. They're not just gonna disappear, or if they ghosted you, maybe good riddance, and that's not a client to work with.
Yeah.
Like,
Let
right?
me
Like,
say,
what's your perspective on that? Because I
oh
struggle with that.
gosh, yeah. I mean, that's good. Show me your true colors early on. But here's the thing, like I also want to be empathetic because there was one client that ghosted me like May of last year on a
Mm,
speaking engagement, actually a training engagement for their company. Ghosted me for like 5 months, then came back out of nowhere. They're like, "Hey, look, we went through layoffs. That's why we couldn't work with you. But we have a new team in place. Can we do the training now?"
mm.
And it went through fine. Like I just so, especially these days, I think that might be happening more often, perhaps for some people. And I just empathize. I try to learn from it if I can, but I also realize that people are going through stuff that I don't understand, and as a result of that, maybe that's why it happened. So I try to see both sides of it just in case something's going on with them.
Right, you don't follow up with an email saying, "Screw you for ghosting me." It's like
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so question about your course. Um, oh, well, that's awesome. So someone just
Let me
said, "I
get Robin.
purchased
No,
the
let me get
course."
Robin. Yeah,
Uh,
Robin. So it's a
yeah,
pre-sale right now. So thank you for that, your early support. And I am going to actually email you with a special bonus. But I'm aiming at the 19th. It just depends on my kids because right now one of them's homesick. So it will definitely be out this month. My goal is the 19th, but I might have to push that back into the following week just because my daughter's homesick. And I thought I was going to be recording a bit more today.
no
So,
worries.
but thanks for asking that, Robin. And I'm going to email you right after this session. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and Cynthia was saying, "Is your course live or on demand?" And please post the link again. But are there live elements, or is this a pre-recorded course that students go through on their own, or both?
Trying to think of a better word than pre-recorded. It's self-paced.
Right,
It's
right,
self-paced
right.
learning. And yeah, I mean, what I would say is, obviously, buy the course. But if you have questions, just message me on LinkedIn or even like comment, "Hey Terry, bought your course. It's amazing. Tell a friend." And I'm there for you. But that's the best way for me to answer that. It's all pre-recorded. I will add more content as I feel that it might be necessary, especially as platforms and the environment changes. But no, everything you need is there. And if you want to, obviously, uh, get some live interaction, we can talk about that separately. But yeah, everything's on demand and at your own pace.
Nice. And is it lifetime access to the course as far as how long
Yeah.
you have access to that information?
Yeah, it is, and I love Denise's question. She's like, "Is it just another set of teach yourself pre-recorded videos, or will there be live interaction?" Denise, I love the
Oh,
the
yes.
transparency.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
let's have it out, right? Yeah, no, absolutely, no. It's teach yourself, but it's stuff that actually works, and I'm just showing you the stuff you need to know, because I think again, when you give people too much information, it gets confusing. They get nothing out of it, right? And you know yourself, Jonah. People don't recommend courses that they got a good deal on. They recommend courses they got a good outcome from. So on my end, it makes sense for me to make sure you actually get through the whole course. And that's why I actually stop you and say, look, make sure you're doing this stuff right now. Don't just consume, actually create. Otherwise, you spend, because it only takes you 2 hours to get through the whole thing. But you've
Right.
just wasted 2 hours and $50 if you haven't done anything. And I failed as well. So my goal is to make it actionable. That's why it's interactive. And then from there, you will reach your desired outcome if you do all the exercises.
Right, right. And it sounds like you are open if someone needs a little more hand holding or is in a tricky situation, they can reach out and you're open to providing that for them. That's just not bundled with the
Oh,
course yet.
yeah. I mean, that happens to me all the time on LinkedIn, especially. People message me random questions, and it's like it is what it is. But if someone's like, "Hey Terry, I bought your course," and oh yeah, sure, you're at the top of the list now because
Right.
you've supported me in the past, and I'm it's just it's what I do. But yeah, that's the best way to get a response from me.
Yeah. Well, Terry, we only have 1 minute left, so we're going to wrap up slowly here. But for everyone watching, if you're watching live or watching the replay, hop in the comments, share something you learned that was especially poignant. Let us know if this was helpful. Make sure to check out the link to the course. It's only available at that pre-sale until the 19th. And it's in the description. It'll also be emailed to you along with the replay. So you're not losing any of that information. And Terry, before we wrap up, like with the course or without the course, what is something someone can do today to start this on track and build that momentum to get their business rolling?
It's really doing that inventory, first of all. Like, what do I actually enjoy doing? Because right now, if you have a 9 to 5, probably 70% of the stuff you're doing, you maybe don't enjoy. It's like it's part of it. But think about that, those core things. You're like, you know what? I love doing this. I wish I could do it more. I don't hate my job. I just hate all these other parts of it. Just really get clear on that by going through that exercise and finding your zone of genius. And then from there, just you do have to boost your confidence perhaps. So yeah, just write down 10 difficult things you've done in the past, right? That were meaningful, that were challenging, and say, look, this is going to be challenging, but I've done difficult stuff before. And gosh, the upside from this is so incredible. And if you don't want to quit your job if you have a 9 to 5, you can do it as a side hustle. Like even making another $800 a month, which is completely doable, is $10,000 a year, right? Don't
Right.
wait for your company to give you a $10,000 raise. Get it yourself. And then from there, after 3 to 6 months, you might say, like, you know what, this is pretty going pretty well. If I didn't have that pesky job getting in the way, I could do even
Right.
more. And
Right.
that's how you do it. But I'm never going to encourage someone to like just quit your job and like, go all in. No, I'm going to guide you on how to do it slowly because as an educator or as any kind of influencer, there's a weight for me, right? There's a weight on my shoulders. If I tell you to do something and it hurts you, I messed up. But you're the one who has to bear the weight of the weight of those mistakes, right? So on my end, I never want to guide someone just saying things that sound cool or whatever. I'm like, look, take it slow, but be deliberate and just be very intentional. And if you can just carve out a weekend, you can have a really good business plan ready to go ahead and launch your business. And again, start generating money within a month without doing any crazy paid ads, funnels, none of that stuff.
Yeah, and in many cases, doing what you're already doing, but as your own business, right?
Yeah.
I love that perspective because it's not like, oh, you have to learn a whole new drop shipping template or any of that. So honestly, I already have my own business, but I'm gonna do this again because it's such a good practice. Like, what do you actually enjoy doing, and how do you focus in on that? Because it's easy, even with your own business, to get carried away. And you've said this before, and I think every time we do an event, I like make a practice of that where I'm like, am I doing what I want to do and in my zone of genius, and do I love it? And it always helps refocus. So I just wanted to call that out, that even if you have your own business, like that's a good every 3 or 6 month practice to make sure you're not getting carried away. And I appreciate that. That is a tool you've given me that I've definitely carried with me, and make sure that I'm not wasting my time or just chasing the money, but building a business that I actually love working for. So thank
Awesome.
you for that.
Yeah, no, I love the feedback. And anybody else has feedback, please do share with me at Terry Rice on Instagram or LinkedIn, whatever it is. But thanks for this and hope to see you in the course.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to check out the links for Terry's course and the additional resources in the description. Always appreciate your time hanging with us. Thank you for taking the time to learn, get your journey started, and hope you have a wonderful day. Terry, thanks again so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.